Rasheeda and Jasmine, the two names that have kept love and hip-hop. Fans glued to their screens are once again at the center of a storm so fierce that social media can't stop buzzing. Picture this: a tense room, eyes locked, hearts racing, and Jasmine unleashing words so sharp they cut deeper than any betrayal before. She looks Rasheeda straight in the eyes and delivers the line no wife ever wants to hear: "He'll never call you wife again." Yes, you heard that right. The tension, the bitterness, the raw emotion, it all collided in a single explosive moment that has left fans stunned and divided. Was this just another heated confrontation? Or did Jasmine just bury Rasheeda's entire claim to her marriage? The drama unfolded in a way that no one could have predicted. Voices raised, secrets revealed, and reputations shattered in real time. Friends and family tried to intervene, but the damage had already been done. The air was thick with betrayal, the walls echoed with the sound of heartbreak, and viewers around the world couldn't believe their eyes. This wasn't just a fight, this was a declaration of war, and everyone is waiting to see who will survive the fallout. The night it all went down is already being called one of the most unforgettable explosions in love and hip-hop history. And it started with nothing more than a tense silence between Rasheeda and Jasmine, a silence so heavy that even the cameras seemed to hesitate before rolling. Rasheeda sat across from Jasmine with her arms folded tightly against her chest, her nails tapping against her forearm, her eyes burning with the kind of anger that only comes from years of betrayal and humiliation. Jasmine, on the other hand, wasn't there to play nice. She wasn't there to apologize, she was there to reclaim power, and every fan watching could feel it. People had gathered around them, friends, family, and even a few cast members who knew something explosive was about to unfold. Kirk had tried to mediate earlier in the day, but when he realized the two women weren't backing down, he stepped aside, leaving the battlefield open for war. Emotions were already running high when Jasmine leaned back in her chair, smirking, with a confidence that cut through the air like a knife, and Rasheeda couldn't hold back any longer. "You've been nothing but a shadow in this family," Rasheeda snapped, her voice trembling but strong. "You think you can step into my marriage, into my home, and rewrite history? You think he'll ever see you as anything more than a mistake?" The words landed with the sting of years of pent-up rage. But Jasmine didn't flinch, she leaned forward, her eyes flashing. And in that chillingly calm tone that drove Rasheeda crazy, she said, "Mistake? You mean the reason your so-called husband can't even look at you the same anymore? The reason he calls me when you're too busy pretending everything is perfect?" Gasps erupted from the crowd. Friends covered their mouths. Even Kirk, who had been standing near the doorway, froze in shock. Rasheeda's lips quivered as she struggled to keep her composure. But her voice cracked when she shot back, "You don't know what marriage is, Jasmine. You don't know what it takes to build a life with someone through years of struggle, through betrayal, through forgiveness. You're nothing but a distraction." But Jasmine wasn't finished. She wasn't there to defend herself. She was there to destroy. She slammed her hand on the table, stood up, and declared loud enough for everyone to hear, "Distraction? No, Rasheeda. I'm the reality check you've been running from. And let me make this clear. He'll never call you wife again." The room erupted into chaos. Some fans later claimed you could hear a glass shatter off camera. Others swore they saw Kirk bury his face in his hands, unable to believe Jasmine had said it out loud. Social media blew up instantly. Tweets, Instagram lives, and Facebook posts were filled with hashtags like #TeamRasheeda and #JasmineSaidIt. Fans were divided right down the middle. Some defending Rasheeda's years of loyalty and marriage. Others claiming Jasmine was only speaking the truth that Rasheeda had been avoiding. But in that moment, Rasheeda's world stopped spinning. She could hear people trying to calm things down, but her body felt numb, like the ground had just disappeared beneath her feet. Tears welled up in her eyes, but she fought them back, refusing to give Jasmine the satisfaction. "You're pathetic," Rasheeda whispered, her voice trembling. "You'll never be me. You'll never have what I built." But Jasmine laughed, that cold, cutting laugh that made the room feel even smaller. And she leaned in just enough so only Rasheeda could hear her next words. "He already left what you built the moment he chose me." That whisper, though quiet, rang louder in Rasheeda's heart than any scream could. The others couldn't hear, but they saw the way Rasheeda's face fell. The way her strength seemed to slip for a moment, and it was clear that Jasmine's words had hit her harder than any public humiliation ever had. Fans watching replayed the scene again and again, analyzing Rasheeda's reaction, zooming in on her face, debating whether this was the moment she finally broke. Kirk tried to intervene, muttering, "Enough, Jasmine. stop this. But Jasmine was on a roll. Fueled by years of feeling like the outsider, the other woman, the villain in everyone's story. No, Kirk, she shouted back, her voice shaking, with fury. I'm done being quiet while she pretends like your marriage is untouchable. Everyone knows the truth now. Everyone knows she's only holding on to a title that doesn't mean a damn thing anymore. The crowd erupted in whispers, some shaking their heads, others secretly agreeing, while cameras captured every flicker of emotion. Rasheeda stood up slowly, her hands trembling, her voice low but filled with venom. You will regret this, Jasmine. You've embarrassed yourself, and one day, you'll realize you were nothing more than a chapter he's desperate to erase. But before she could leave the room, Jasmine threw one last dagger. Erase me. Honey, you can't erase the mother of his child. You can't erase the nights he didn't come home to you, and you can't erase the fact that deep down, he's already chosen. That was the breaking point. Rasheeda's eyes filled with tears, she couldn't hold back anymore, and she stormed out, cameras chasing after her as the room dissolved into pure chaos, some rushing to comfort Rasheeda, others trying to calm Jasmine. And Kirk caught in the middle of a storm that seemed bigger than anything he'd faced before. Fans online would later call it the wife versus reality showdown. A clash of love, loyalty, and betrayal that blurred the lines between performance and raw truth. And yet, as part 1 closed, the biggest question remained hanging in the air. Was Jasmine right? Had Rasheeda already lost her place as wife in everything but name? And most of all, how would Kirk respond now that the world had seen the destruction unfold right in front of their eyes? The cameras followed Rasheeda as she stormed out of the room, her heels clicking against the polished floor like gunshots echoing in a battlefield. Every step fueled by heartbreak and humiliation, while inside, Jasmine stood tall, basking in the chaos she had just created, almost daring anyone to challenge her. Kirk rushed after Rasheeda, his voice desperate, calling her name again and again. But she refused to turn back. Her vision blurred with tears, her pride shattered in front of friends, family, and the entire world. Back inside, Jasmine smirked, whispering under her breath, and that's what happens when the truth hurts too much. But what Jasmine didn't see was the growing tension in the room. The way friends and cast members were now turning against her. Whispering, questioning whether she had gone too far this time, whether her declaration had crossed a line that could never be redrawn. One of Rasheeda's closest friends, Kendra, stood up and confronted Jasmine, her voice trembling with both anger and disbelief. Do you even hear yourself? You're proud of tearing another woman down in front of everybody. You really think this is a win for you? Jasmine shot her a cold stare and snapped back. Don't act like you don't know what's been going on. I'm just the only one brave enough to say it out loud. Kendra's face twisted with disgust, and she muttered, brave. No, Jasmine. That wasn't brave. That was cruel. The argument quickly escalated, voices overlapping as people scrambled to take sides. Some defending Rasheeda's dignity while others nodded silently, acknowledging that Jasmine wasn't entirely wrong. Social media was already on fire. Clips of the confrontation went viral within minutes, fans replaying Jasmine's cutting line, "He'll never call you wife again," and debating whether it was a power move or the lowest blow of all time. Hashtags like #Justice for Rasheeda and #JasmineExposed were trending. But what shocked fans most was Kirk's silence. For the first time, Kirk Frost, the man at the center of this storm, was speechless, torn between two women who both claimed ownership of his loyalty, his love, his identity as a husband and father. In the hallway, Rasheeda collapsed against the wall, sobbing as cameras captured the raw side of her, yet whispering through tears. After everything I've been through with him, after everything I fought to protect, how could she throw that in my face? How could he just stand there? Fans at home cried with her, sending messages of support, flooding her Instagram with words like "Stay strong, Queen," and "You deserve better," while critics demanded Kirk, finally, choose a side once and for all. Back inside, Jasmine was pacing now, her earlier confidence starting to falter as she realized the room wasn't as supportive as she thought. A castmate, Sierra, stepped forward and said, "Girl, you might think you won this, but let me tell you something. No matter what you say, Rasheeda has that ring, she has that history, she has that family. You're always gonna be the side piece in everybody's eyes." Jasmine's face hardened, her jaw clenching as she spit back, "Side piece? Then why does he come crawling back to me every time she pretends everything's fine? Why does he call me when she can't give him what he needs?" The words struck like lightning, leaving the room frozen in stunned silence. before Sierra threw her hands up and muttered, "This is toxic, and you're proud of it." Meanwhile, Kirk finally caught up to Rasheeda, grabbing her arm gently, his voice cracking as he pleaded, "Please, don't listen to her. Don't let her get to you." Rasheeda jerked her arm away, her voice sharp and trembling. "Get to me? She just told the whole world you don't see me as your wife anymore, and you stood there and said nothing." "Nothing, Kirk. Do you know what that felt like?" Kirk's face was pale, sweat forming on his forehead as he struggled to find words, but everything he said seemed empty against the echo of Jasmine's accusations. Fans watching screamed at their screens, some yelling that Rasheeda should walk away for good, others begging Kirk to finally defend her publicly and shut Jasmine down once and for all. In the background, producers scrambled, whispering frantically about whether to cut the scene, whether things had gone too far, but the cameras kept rolling, capturing every heartbreaking detail. Outside, Rasheeda took a deep breath, wiped her tears, and turned to Kirk with a look that was equal parts fury and devastation. "You let her humiliate me in front of everyone. You let her strip me of everything I've held onto for years. If you don't set the record straight tonight, Kirk, there's no coming back from this." Her words shook him, his hands trembling as he tried to grab hers, but she pulled away, leaving him speechless as she walked off into the night. Back inside, Jasmine was still arguing, defending her outburst as nothing more than the truth people needed to hear. But even some of her own friends were distancing themselves, worried that her hunger for power had just crossed into self-destruction. Fans flooded live chats and comments sections, debating who was really in the wrong. Was Jasmine exposing a painful truth Rasheeda refused to face? Or was she exploiting someone's vulnerability just to win a battle she could never truly claim victory in? As the night dragged on, the tension thickened, and everyone realized this wasn't just another fight, it was the beginning of a war that would rip the family, the friendships, and the fan base into pieces. And yet, through the chaos, through the tears and the accusations, one thing was becoming dangerously clear. Jasmine wasn't done yet. If anything, she was just getting started. The night didn't end when Rasheeda walked off. In fact, that's when the storm truly began to spiral out of control. Because the moment she disappeared into the shadows, Jasmine's confidence surged again, as if Rasheeda's absence gave her more room to command the spotlight. And with cameras still rolling, she turned toward the group and declared, "You all can hate me if you want, but I'm the only one telling the truth. And deep down, you know I'm right." He doesn't see her the same anymore, and pretending otherwise is just embarrassing. The room erupted once again, cast members shouting over each other, some screaming for Jasmine to stop, others demanding that Kirk come back and finally take a stand. While fans watching from home lived tweeted every second, one side chanting, #Team Rasheeda, and the other egging Jasmine on with #TruthHurts. What Jasmine didn't expect, however, was for Kirk to storm back in just minutes later. His face pale, his eyes wild, his hands shaking as if he had just seen the end of everything he'd built flash before him. "Enough, Jasmine," he yelled, his voice cracking under the weight of the chaos. "You've already done enough damage tonight, don't you see what you've caused?" But Jasmine didn't back down. Instead, she stepped forward, her eyes narrowing as she hissed, "No, Kirk, I didn't cause this. You did. By living a lie. By stringing her along while giving me promises you never had the guts to admit out loud. Don't blame me for the truth you're too weak to face." The words sliced through the air, and for a split second, silence fell. The kind of silence that's more dangerous than screaming, the kind that makes everyone hold their breath, waiting for the next explosion. Rasheeda's friend Kendra broke first, shouting, "You don't get to stand here and act like you're some truth teller when all you've ever done is chase after someone else's husband. Jasmine, you ruined a family and now you're proud of it." Jasmine rolled her eyes and snapped back, "Please, don't make me laugh. That family was already broken long before I showed up. I didn't ruin anything, I just exposed what was already falling apart." The back and forth grew more heated. Security guards stepped closer, ready to intervene if fists flew. And producers were torn between shutting the cameras down and letting them roll for what would undoubtedly be the highest-rated moment of the season. Meanwhile, out in the parking lot, Rasheeda sat in her car with tears streaming down her face, her phone blowing up with calls from fans, friends, and even her mother, all begging her to leave Kirk for good this time. Her mother's voice cracked through the phone, "Baby, how much more of this are you gonna take? How many more times is he gonna let that girl humiliate you before you see he's not worth it?" Rasheeda sobbed silently, unable to answer. Because deep down she didn't know the answer herself. She loved Kirk, she loved their family. But the humiliation had reached a breaking point, and Jasmine's words kept echoing in her head like a curse. "He'll never call you wife again." Back inside, Kirk was on the verge of collapse, his voice trembling as he begged Jasmine, "Please, just stop this madness. You don't know what you're doing." Jasmine's laugh sent chills through the room, sharp and unforgiving. "Oh, I know exactly what I'm doing, Kirk. I'm freeing you from the prison you've been stuck in, from a marriage that died a long time ago." Gasps filled the air as she reached for his hand in front of everyone, forcing the cameras to zoom in. But Kirk yanked his hand back, his face twisted in anguish, and shouted, "You don't get to define my marriage. You don't get to take that from her." For the first time all night, Jasmine looked shaken, her confidence faltering as she realized Kirk had finally raised his voice against her. But the damage was already done. Every word, every accusation, every humiliation, had been captured for the world to replay endlessly. Friends began ushering Jasmine away, muttering for her to cool down, but she pulled back, tears forming in her own eyes now as she screamed, "Don't act like you haven't told me things you could never say to her. Don't act like you haven't whispered that you feel trapped, that you wanted out, that you saw me as your escape." The confession hit the room like dynamite. Everyone froze, their eyes darting to Kirk, waiting for his response. And the silence that followed was more damning than anything Jasmine had said all night. He didn't deny it. He didn't say a word. His silence was louder than any scream. And fans watching at home immediately flooded timelines with theories. Had Kirk really told Jasmine he wanted to leave Rasheeda? Had he truly confided in her the darkest parts of his marriage? Was this the ultimate betrayal? The weight of it all left Rasheeda trembling in her car, sensing the betrayal without even hearing it, as if her heart knew before her ears ever could. Back in the room, Kirk finally whispered, "Jasmine, stop." His voice broken, but Jasmine pressed on. "No, say it, Kirk. Admit it to them. Admit it to her. Admit it to her. Admit it to yourself. Tell them what you told me." The crowd leaned in, the cameras zoomed closer, and the world seemed to hold its breath waiting for his confession. But Kirk collapsed into a chair instead, burying his face in his hands, and muttered, "I can't do this anymore." That single sentence sent shockwaves through the room. Rasheeda's friends gasped, Jasmine's eyes widened, and fans at home exploded with questions. Was he talking about Jasmine, about Rasheeda, or about the entire messy triangle that had consumed his life? The uncertainty only fueled the drama, leaving everyone desperate for answers. As the night wore on, Rasheeda finally returned, her face streaked with dried tears but her posture strong, like a queen who refused to be dethroned. She walked straight past Jasmine, straight to Kirk, and demanded in front of everyone, "Say it, right here, right now. Is she lying? Or did you tell her those things?" The room fell silent once again, the kind of silence that makes your stomach twist, because everyone knew whatever came out of his mouth next would change everything forever. Jasmine smirked, folding her arms, confident that the truth was about to come out in her favor, while Rasheeda stood trembling, praying that her marriage wasn't about to crumble on national television. Kirk looked up slowly, his eyes bloodshot, his voice breaking, and as he opened his mouth to speak, fans everywhere leaned closer to their screens, waiting for the verdict that could shatter hearts and end marriages in a single breath. The room was so silent you could hear the hum of the cameras recording, every single person leaning in as Kirk finally lifted his head, his eyes red and heavy with guilt, his lips trembling as if the truth was clawing its way out against his will. And then it happened. His voice cracked, low at first but sharp enough to slice through Rasheeda's chest. "I said those things." Gasps erupted like thunder, hands flying to mouths, chairs scraping as people stood in disbelief. Rasheeda's eyes widening as her world caved in around her. She staggered back as though his words had physically struck her, her breath catching in her throat, while Jasmine stood frozen, half triumphant and half shaken by the weight of what she had forced out of him. "You told her you wanted out." Rasheeda's voice quivered, her body trembling, her pride dangling by a thread as tears welled in her eyes. Kirk buried his face in his hands again, unable to meet her gaze, whispering, "I didn't mean it like that. I was confused. I was angry. I never meant for it to sound the way it did." But the damage was irreversible. The words hung in the air like poison, and Rasheeda's heart shattered in front of everyone. "So you did say it," she whispered, her voice so broken the entire room felt it. Jasmine seized her moment, stepping forward with a smug smile. "See? I wasn't lying." He wanted out. He saw me as his way out, and that's why I told you he'll never call you wife again." Rasheeda whipped her head toward Jasmine. Her face streaked with tears, but her spirit ignited by fury. "Don't you dare smile. Don't you dare act like you won anything here. You've turned my pain into your trophy, but all you've done is expose yourself as a woman who will never be satisfied until she's destroyed everyone around her." The room vibrated with tension, people shouting for calm. But Rasheeda's words rang loud and true, drawing nods from her friends who rallied around her. Jasmine snapped back, her voice cracking for the first time. "Destroyed? No. I gave him what you couldn't. Freedom, honesty, passion." Rasheeda stepped forward, her finger pointing at Jasmine like a blade. "No. What you gave him was an excuse. An escape from accountability. You weren't his passion, Jasmine. You were his distraction from the man he was too weak to be." The crowd gasped, some clapping, others shaking their heads, the tension reaching a fever pitch as Kirk sat slumped in his chair. Realizing he had lost control of both women, both families, and his own reputation, social media exploded. Fans split down the middle half, praising Rasheeda for standing tall in her heartbreak. Half claiming Jasmine had simply spoken truths Rasheeda refused to face. And everyone demanding Kirk take responsibility for the chaos he had created. But then, in a moment no one expected, Kirk stood, his voice loud and desperate, shouting over the noise. "Enough, both of you. I can't keep doing this. Jasmine, you were never supposed to be more than a mistake. A moment I wish I could take back, and Rasheeda, you're my wife, the woman I built my life with. But I've failed you both. I've failed everyone." The room froze, eyes wide as Kirk's confession poured out, his body shaking, his words tumbling like a dam bursting. "Yes, I said I wanted out. I said things I never should have said. But the truth is, I didn't want out of my marriage, I wanted out of myself. Out of the mess I created, out of the guilt I've been drowning in for years." Tears streamed down his face as he looked at Rasheeda, his voice breaking. "I never stopped loving you. I never stopped wanting you as my wife. But I've broken you so many times, I don't know if you'll ever forgive me." Gasps echoed, the room stunned as the weight of his words hit. Jasmine's face twisting in rage as she screamed, "So what? You're just going to throw me away? After everything? After all the nights, all the promises, all the love you swore was real?" Kirk turned to her, his eyes cold, his voice sharp. "It wasn't love, Jasmine. It was me running from my mistakes, using you as an excuse to avoid facing the truth, and I'm done running." The words crushed Jasmine, her smirk vanishing as her body shook, her eyes filling with tears she refused to let fall. And she spat back bitterly, "You'll regret this, Kirk. You'll regret choosing a woman who will never look at you the same again." Rasheeda's lips quivered as she whispered, "He's right about one thing, you've destroyed us, Jasmine. But you don't get to define us." For the first time all night, the tables turned, the room's energy shifting back toward Rasheeda, as her friends embraced her, chanting words of support while Jasmine stood isolated, her power slipping away. Security stepped in, guiding her out as she cursed under her breath, vowing the fight wasn't over, vowing the world hadn't heard the last of her. As the door slammed behind her, the room fell into a heavy silence broken only by Rasheeda's sobs and Kirk's desperate pleas for forgiveness. Fans online called it the most shocking climax in the show's history. Some calling Jasmine's downfall karma, others predicting her return with even more fire. While debates raged about whether Rasheeda should take Kirk back or finally walk away for good. But in that moment, Rasheeda wasn't thinking about fans, or cameras, or even Jasmine. She was thinking about the shattered pieces of her marriage. The man in front of her begging for another chance, and the haunting truth that nothing would ever be the same again. The scene closed with Rasheeda whispering through her tears, "You'll never understand the damage you've done, Kirk. And I don't know if I can ever forgive you." As Kirk reached for her hand and she pulled away, leaving the room in stunned silence once more. The fallout had only just begun. Fans were left divided and desperate for answers. And one truth lingered in the air like smoke after fire. Jasmine's words would never be forgotten. "He'll never call you wife again." And just like that, viewers, the night of chaos came to a close, but the questions it raised are louder than ever. Jasmine walked out defeated, but not destroyed, promising she would return with more receipts. Kirk sat broken, finally admitting his deepest guilt, but his confession only left fans questioning whether his marriage has already passed the point of no return. And Rasheeda, strong, yet shattered, stood as the woman caught in the middle of lies, betrayal, and humiliation broadcast for the world to see. Fans are split right down the middle. Some say Rasheeda should pack her bags, reclaim her crown, and never look back, while others insist Kirk's confession was the first step toward healing a bond that has survived countless storms before. The internet is ablaze, timelines flooded with hashtag Team Rasheeda, hashtag Kirk exposed, and yes, even hashtag Jasmine was right. But the only thing everyone agrees on is this: the story isn't over. The wounds are fresh, the drama is far from finished, and the fallout will ripple for weeks, maybe months to come. Will Rasheeda forgive Kirk? Or will she finally shut the door on their marriage for good? Will Jasmine return with more secrets that could destroy what little is left? And most importantly, can love really survive betrayal this deep? Or is this the final curtain call for a couple fans once believed could conquer anything? Now it's your turn to weigh in. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Whose side are you on? Should Rasheeda stay or go? Do you believe Kirk's confession? Or was it just another excuse to cover his tracks? And do you think Jasmine's bombshell was the truth fans needed to hear, or just another dagger meant to wound? Don't forget to like this video, hit that subscribe button, and turn on your notifications, because trust me, you don't want to miss the next chapter in this saga. The drama is only just beginning, and we'll be here to cover every twist, every betrayal, and every shocking reveal. Stay tuned, because if tonight proved anything, it's that in this story, nobody is safe,